Hello and welcome to the 17th weekly vlog. Quite amazed I've kept this up, but I have. This week has been a quieter week for me on the hobby front, and as such this video will be substantially shorter than the previous few, which might be a relief for some, but this is how it goes. One thing I would like to say is don't beat yourself up if you find that you get very little time to do hobbying. After all, family is far more important. My mother has been here and it's been wonderful to spend time with her. Unfortunately she's gone home now, so now my hobby output will probably increase again, and obviously we all miss her. So I'll shut up now and I will get back to you at the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching and I will see you soon. It has now actually been 2 days since I did that, but that's fine. It's nicely dried. It should have a very good secure bond now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the rest of the roof around the shape, around this ring, and glue it in place. So we'll get some PVA. I need to refill this bottle. I feel like I've said that before. And what we'll do is we'll run our bead of PVA into the join and along the edge. And what I'll do for this one is I'll do it actually on the ring rather than on the base. On the roof, sorry. So we'll go around the ring, applying glue on the edge, like so. With that done, we will carefully, and I mean carefully, bend these into place. This is not the easiest thing you'll do on an MDF building. Take it from me, I broke the last one. However, with a little bit of perseverance, and with the comfort that those little bits of masking tape are just in there to prevent stupid, and I do stupid all the time, as my videos attest, it does go actually okay. And also, having stuck that first one in place and left it for such a long time, that's also made this a lot easier. So those improvements that I've made, that I learned from the first mistakes, have made a big difference. So you need to make sure that that is clipped in all of them, which again is not the easiest thing in the world, as you can see. You're kind of chasing it around a little bit. So that's in, that's in, that's in. Next one, in, in. We're in all the way around. There we are, right. Now what you do, funnily enough, is you leave it. You don't fiddle with it. I normally fiddle with things. Don't fiddle with this. Once you've got it clipped in place, put it down. Come back to it later. There we are, that was done. Next up for this, I have just mixed up some plaster, some polyfiller, some PVA, some paint and some water to make this nice light grey kind of goop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this over every bit of the polystyrene, of the XPS. I'm going to do this in 2 layers. I think I'm going to do one and spread it quite thinly, let that to dry, and then tomorrow come back and do another layer, or maybe later today if it dries. So I'm going to use a tongue depressor and smear it all over. Just like that. And attempt to cover up all the texture with this first application. It will also make it harder and less likely to get damaged. Don't worry too much at this stage, if you're building this along with me, crazy person if you are, about making it too smooth, as we are going to do another application and then there's going to be more stuff put on top of it before this is done and painted and what have you. I'll pop some music on and you can watch while I do this. Okay, that's one mix done. I'm going to mix some more up and keep going. I'll turn the camera off now, you've got the idea, and I'm going to complete the whole of the board. The thing that I'm going to not do is the outside here on the other side of this wall, and also in around the door, because I've got those pieces primed, and when they're dried and they're ready to be fitted, once they've been painted, then I will finish off around. But this is probably going to take me a couple of days because I don't have all that much time. It's not a quick process, so I'm just going to keep doing it and keep doing it until I've got this completely done, probably 2 coats. And I'll come back to this bit when that's done, but there may be some other stuff done on this build in the meantime on other parts of the project. So onwards. For various very excellent reasons, I've done absolutely nothing on this for ages. Those reasons being family. However, now I'm ready to try to get this finished. I have a very short amount of time remaining to complete this project, and I'm going to see whether I can do it, because I don't like failing. What I've got here is my Proxon and some foam, and so I am going to trim that to about 1 centimetre to make the brick edges for the base of the shed. So get that turned on and push it through. As easy as that. The Proxon is amazing. So that's now done. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to very carefully trim off the texture. So I do that by putting this just a couple of millimeters away from the wire, like so, and then we'll push it through. Be very careful with your fingers. But you can see that that takes it off very nicely. And that is done. So here we have the block which is going to be turned into my brick base. With that cut, now we are going to get the correct dimensions for the bricks, cut them out and then glue them together. I think I might even do the carving before I do the gluing, but at least I'm going to need to break these sections up. So what I've got in front of me is the plan that I drew, which is the correct size that I want, and I'm going to actually just leave the end off because it's a bit squished, and grab my knife and cut these to the correct length. So first of all, I'm going to just cut that end off, like so. There we are, that's better. So then we have a length that is going to be that long. And then we have another length that is going to be that long. And then we have another length it's going to be that long minus a bit. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. And we're going to have a second one that is going to be that length and then minus a bit. But what we'll do is we'll cut this one to the minus a bit. So the minus a bit is the depth of the 2 walls, like so. And then we'll cut another bit that length, and that will be the right size for the base. What I will now do, off camera, because I've done this before, maybe I'll do one and I'll do the most of them off camera. What I'm now going to do, you can hear hammering in the background, my renovations continue, is I'm going to score in the bricks, like so. So I have my pen, which I have reinforced the end with masking tape, and to do that you just draw the lines. Once you've got the horizontal lines, you can do the vertical lines, like so. Vertical line, vertical line, vertical line. There we are. Done. So I'm going to go and do that for all the rest of these strips here, so these other 3, and I will also probably do both sides, even though both sides won't be showing, but it's still nice to do, and I'll be back to show you how I'm going to glue them when that is done. That's all scored out, and now I'm going to glue it together. So what I'm going to do is use normal PVA and dressmaker's pins. I would often use cocktail sticks, that's what I was looking for, the word, but in this case I think that'll be a bit too intrusive and potentially cause damage. So what we'll do is as simple as this. We will put a bead of PVA down the sides of the middle bit. So like this, just a little blob of PVA. PVA is such an awesome thing. I don't know what anyone in our hobby would do without PVA. So we'll put a little bit of PVA there. Then we will sit that up against there, hold it in place. Sorry, I was out of shot. We'll sit that up against there, hold it in place, and then we'll push one dressmaker's pin in through that gap, trying to go in straight so you don't have it popping out. And this is just to add a little bit of rigidity and a little bit of structural integrity. The PVA is what will do the sticking. These are here merely to support it. You could probably even pull them out once the PVA is dry, but I won't bother because we will be plastering to give strength. And that now has some rigidity and will now not fall apart as soon as you look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the rest of these, put pins in each of these, and then leave it to dry for a good couple of hours before I come back to the next step. That's now dried, and you can see that I've also put the step on. That's temporarily held in place with some pins, because actually it's too short for these pins, so they'll actually come through. One idea I could have, and I might just do it, is I can clip those pins off short and then push them through again so they don't project, and I might very well do that. But what I'm going to show you now is how I will be making this a little bit more hard wearing. I've put this onto a little stand so I have access, and here we have some normal tile grout, which is quite a nice light colour, as you can see. So we're going to put a little bit of that into my mixing. We're going to put a little dollop of PVA, not very much, but a dollop of PVA in. This is the magic ingredient. If you forget to put your PVA in, then you'll end up with really, really grainy, powdery, crumbly, not very secure, and it will just look rubbish. Ask me how I know it. It's because in one of my earliest videos I made that mistake. I knew to add PVA but forgot because I was filming, and yeah, it didn't work. But it was an interesting learning experience, and hopefully now you'll remember that you need to add PVA. Now once again we're going to be mixing the grout, and once again, as I always say, it's hydrophobic, so it's hard to mix, but as you keep at it and keep mixing, it will eventually start to mix, and it's a case of just keeping at it. So I'm going to do that, and I'll show you the next step when I've finished mixing. There we are, that's mixed. Now, a chap called Gunther from the Real Terrain Hobbies Discord, and if you're not a member of that, why not? Go and check out his YouTube channel, he's amazing, and jump onto the Discord, it's full of awesome people. He suggested adding a small amount of sand to the mix with the grout, which will break up the surface tension as well. Now I will try that in another video, but for this one I didn't want to have any more of the texture that I'm going to get already, and so I haven't done that. But it's a good idea and I will give it a go. I think I've done it before, can't remember. I've made a lot of stuff and I can't remember whether it works or not, so we'll give it a try on camera for a future build. So what I'm going to do now is simply paint that on. Now you might find that this takes a couple of coats, which is absolutely fine, but you're just getting your paintbrush, an old one you don't mind being a bit knackered, and you're painting it on. Now I am going to stop the camera and I am going to clip off those little pins, and then I'm going to come back when I've completed this. But the key here for this is to get it in all the cracks. And I am painting the inside because I'm going to do this a little bit modular, as I would like to do. I like to keep flexible. So yeah, I'm going to quickly sort that out, finish painting this, and then I'll be back with the next step. While the first coat of that dries, I'm now going to start work on the wooden frame. Now my idea is to make a frame that will sit down, if you can see at the back there, inside, and will then have the actual shed will actually sit on top, so that I can take the shed off and on this framework and it can be a little bit more flexible. So what I'm doing is I have this very nice 1 centimetre by half a centimetre pine, and I'm going to make the frame out of this. So I've measured up, that is the length to go that will go the lengthways, and then I'll measure up, cut that twice, and then measure and join it together so that I've got a little frame which I can then build on top of. So I have a razor saw and I have that length, and I'm going to cut those and stick them together with PVA, and I'll be back when that is done and I'm starting work on the actual shed that will go on top. Second coat of the grout mix has gone on to the brick framework. The wooden framework is setting up over there with lots of clamps. Whee! And now it's time to chop up wood to be used for the base of the actual little porch area, and then also the bottom of the shed. So I've measured. I have my chop it, and I need 20 of these to go all the way along. So I'm going to cut them out, and I'll be back with the next step. Yesterday evening I came in and started fiddling around with this without the camera turned on, and as you can see over there, the frame that I was making, it didn't work. I started playing with it, I thought I'd maybe be able to make it fit, and I broke it. So I went to bed, because that was what I should have done without fiddling at it. What I decided to do is, while I might come back to that frame, I'm going to work at building the slats that go across in the technique you see down here on the bottom left. So without first making the frame, I'm going to make I'm going to put these, which are the length of the brickwork, and then at the back over there I've got the pile that will go all the way across. So I'll make all of the base, all of the wooden base, and then start to build up the actual shed around the outside. So I'm going to get stuck in with that using PVA, and I'll show what it looks like when I am done. Next up, I'm going to use quite a fine brush. I'm not going to dry brush it, and I'm going to paint the bricks with this nice dark red that I like, and I will leave the gaps so that it looks like mortar. So I'm going to get that done. I'm not going to do it on camera because I'm quite busy, and so I'll be doing it in very short bursts every now and then, but I'll be back when it is finished. That has painted up really nicely. I'm actually very, very pleased with how that's happened and how it looks. I think it looks like good old brick, and certainly when I've absolutely finished painting it and done my weathering on it, it will look amazing. So next up, I'm going to be assembling the actual shed. Now the shed, as you can see here, this is the base and this is the front wall, and I've got here a little magnet kind of contraption that my parents bought me once, which will allow me to do a very good 90 degrees. I will rotate and zoom a little bit so you can see a little bit better what it is. There we are. So it's like a metal tray with some magnets that stick on it, and it's really, really cool for this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is put a bead of PVA along the bottom of this and stick it in place, and then I'll do the same for the other wall, which is going to go at that end. I'll leave that to dry, and while I'm doing that, I will measure and make the back wall, which will have a and the front wall, which will have a angle on it, and the front wall will also have the door. So we're getting pretty close to having the structure made. I've got one more day. I never leave things to the last minute. I never normally do, but I'm pushing through with this, and hopefully I will get it done. So I will show you what it looks like at the end of the next stage. A quick in progress. I've managed to grab a minute or two here and there through the day and make a little bit more progress. As you can see, the wooden frame now has the walls uprights on it, and I've got a cross piece going across the front and also across the back. It fits very nicely on the base, and I'm particularly pleased with how that's turned out. As you can see, it looks like bricks. I will obviously age it, but yeah, there's a really nice technique there that was worked just as well as I expected or hoped it would. What I'm doing at the moment is trying to cut the uprights that will go, so the front and the back, and I will be trying to do a door on this as well, which is going to stretch me, but hey, what's this about apart from trying to push yourself? I think I can achieve this by the end of tomorrow. What I need to have done today is I need all the woodwork to be done, and I need to be staining it so it can dry overnight. If I can finish all of this woodwork and stain it tonight, then I think that tomorrow I can complete the build, which will be very brilliant and very exciting, and I'll be very pleased. So for now, I'm drying that. That's going to be left to dry, and I will come back to it in a couple of hours when it's definitely completely dry and I can do the next step. We're into the evening and I have made a start, as I've left that to dry, like I said, I've made a start building the side walls, or rather the back walls. And what I thought I'd do just quickly is show you how I'm doing this. I've got this kind of third hand, I've no idea where I got it from. I think I might have bought it ages ago on eBay, but it's really useful. It's meaning that I'm able to hold this up and measure and cut without juggling. It's quite a delicate operation, this little building. It's not going to be very hard wearing, but I'm enjoying making it. So I thought I'd show you that off. Now what I'm going to do is just get stuck in, do all of that, and then do the front and try to build a doorway. And I'll be sure to update you on progress as I go through it. But yeah, onwards. On we push, and as you can see in the background, that shed is starting to really look quite good. It's taking shape quite well. What we've got is on top, I'm starting the roof. So I thought I'd introduce you or show you a little bit about how I'm going to do this. As you can see from that side, we do have a doorway, and I have a MDF door which I didn't use in another build, which I'm going to put in there. I'm going to glue that in there later when I'm ready to. It will sit in there very nicely indeed, as you can see. Needs to glue in obviously, but yeah, the door does fit. So what I'm about to do is work on the roof. This is the slopey side, and I know how wide I want it to be because I've got the diagram which is on the paper over there. And what I'm going to be doing is, I'm not going to be using this specific sandpaper, but I'm going to cut it out of the card and then I'm going to glue sandpaper on it, and then what I can do is I can paint it and then dry brush it and it will look really nice. So I'm going to get on with that. I'm going to measure it and cut it using my knife that you see here, and then probably use contact spray because it will be better, I think, for gluing this. This stuff is a little bit waxy, so it's going to be a bit better to glue it with contact spray, and then I think that will be me reached the end of the day. I haven't quite finished where I wanted to get up to because I haven't stained the wood, but I don't want to touch that yet because I've only just finished gluing it. It's still wet and it is a bit delicate. As I say, it's not really a playable element, but it does look nice. But tomorrow morning, first thing, I can stain that, and then I hopefully should be able to get it finished by the end of tomorrow. So making really good progress today. It's the morning after, and I'm going to now stain this with wood stain. This is one of my best top tips that I'm most pleased with, that rather than struggling to find a paint colour or whatever, I use an official wood stain which we use around our house as well. Obviously coming from Bulgaria, that is in Bulgarian, but it basically is pine coloured wood stain. And I will paint that over the whole of this, leave it to dry, and then probably do another coat, and then it'll be a case of dressing the model up because we're pretty close. The roof has come out very nicely. I actually don't think I need to paint it at all. It's just a very thick sandpaper, as you can see. I will probably stain the back so that it looks a little bit more like wood, but for now I'm happy with that, and I'm going to put this lacquer on, this wood stain, onto this model. So it is as simple as that, and what it'll do is it just adds a bit more detail, brings out some more of the texture. You can do it very thin coats so it dries very fast, and as I say, 2 coats should be enough to make this look like pine. And then I'll look at some weathering techniques. I think I keep saying that whenever I'm doing wood, and then like the colour that arrives, but this definitely needs to be weathered. So yeah, I'll get that all done and I'll be back when it is finished. We're now getting to the dressing part of this build, which I didn't think I'd have time for because I forgot that it was a leap year. So what I'm doing is I have these little kind of gardening implements, and they were bought initially for Rosie's hobbit hole, but they didn't really fit because they're man-sized, not hobbit-sized. And there's also this bucket of potatoes, which I probably could put on Rosie's hobbit hole, but whatever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to prime them now and then paint them and put them on to decorate the build. The build itself is looking very nice. Let me pick it up and show it you. So it isn't yet glued together, but the base is looking lovely, and then the actual shed, as you can see, has got the first stain on it, and then the roof comes on and off. I've got a little bit of work to do on the roof. You can see there's a gap through it. You can see through there. But I'm probably going to put a bit of a tarpaulin or something over that, or I might even try to trim it down to make it actually fit smooth, but we'll see. But I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. I'll tell you what I do to fix it up when I get to it, but for now it's time to prime. I've just been putting some old wood on the guiding implements, as you can see on the right. And what I'm going to do, excuse me, I'm not frog in my throat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to age the wood slightly as well. I'm also going to show you that I got a file out and I filed down the back and the front and the back there, but I haven't been able to do anything about this uneven misshapen area, but that's fine, it's an old shed, I'll work something out. But I'm just going to use some of this old wood paint from Vallejo, and I'm going to pick out some of these just to kind of apply it over in a random fashion to age the look of the shed. So I'm going to get that done and I'll bring it back when I'm finished. An end of week update on the Barlin's tomb. I've done a couple more coats of the filler paint and PVA mix, and as you can see it's starting to really take shape. It's also starting to add some weight, but that's going to be really hard wearing and good. I know I started off using the scraper to put it on, but I've actually taken to mixing it slightly more looser, slightly wetter, and applying it with a thick soft brush, and that is working a lot easier, being a lot quicker and a lot less painful, so I'm going to continue doing it like that. I've also primed and prepared all the little accoutrements and bits that are going to go on, like the door and the tomb and the well and the door handles and little piles of weapons and other bits, and also the 6 columns which are going to go here, here and here. They're primed and ready to be stuck in place and painted in whatever order I decide to do it. I think probably my plan is to stick everything in place, paint it in place apart from the doors. I think I will probably paint these doors and then mask them up, because I want to be able to blend in the bases and the door frame with the texture that I'm putting on. So yeah, it's going quite well. It's going to take a while. I'm not rushing it. It's a long project this, which will be finished when it's finished, but I thought I would show just how much I got done in 20 minutes here and there. It doesn't take long to paint on a batch of the mix. I can do that in brief breaks during my working day. So there we are. Progress is slow, but it's getting there. We're on to the final push with this now. I had forgotten it was a leap year, so today is the 29th, the final and last day I can do anything, and I'm pretty happy that I'm going to achieve what I need to. So what we've got here is I've painted up, say, some let me just focus that properly. I've painted up some spuds. I'm going to need to lighten them, apparently, according to Angela. So I'll put a little bit of a lighter colour, maybe pick some of them out. And I've also painted up the brush and the watering can and the fork and the spade. So they are going to be put probably inside and outside. I've glued the door on, nice green painted door, and I'm going to be putting a little rock here so that it looks like the rock has been left there to keep it open. But the first thing I'm going to do before I do any of that is I'm going to put some creepers and some vines going up this edge of this wall. So I'm going to do this with PVA and with little strands of coconut fibre. So I'm going to get myself set up, focus the camera in, and then you can see how I do that. Right then, let's get this done. So we have some PVA, and I'm just going to actually spread it all over. I'm not going to try to pick out where I want to have the runners to go. I also figured that it will seal and make the actual building a little more secure, because the PVA will soak in the gaps between the slats and will then have a bit more of a seal there as well. It is more sturdy than I feared it would be, but still, you wouldn't really want to tread on it. Well, obviously, I think it might be gameable even. So we'll put some thin coat of PVA over there, and then just here on the edge of the shot, I have a big box of offcuts of, basically this is the stuff that you use to line the inside of hanging baskets. And I'm going to cut off some strands of this and run them up there. The idea here is to make it look like dead ivy or something like that. So not to be too neat and tidy and what have you. And also I'm not really going to bother with flocking it. It's going to look like dead strands of ivy, as I say. So I'm not going to worry about trimming the top. I'll trim that when it's dry, but something a little like that. There we are. So that will do. I'll let that to dry and then I'll trim the edges. It's been a little while since I've worked on this. However, I have decided on my next plan of attack, and that is for how I'm going to do the roof. I've been thinking about it a little bit, which is why I've taken my time. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to try out a technique that I've not tried before. Hey on camera, hey, yay, yay, Beard's clever. And I'm going to put my put this polyfiller over the top of the roof. It will both stick it in place, cover up the gaps, but also I'm going to score in to make it look like it is made out of rushes, so it is a thatched roof. And I have read about this a lot of times, seen a lot of people talk about this technique, but I've never tried it myself. So I thought that what I would do is try it on camera. Obviously I considered doing a practice run, but I mean, it's obviously a practice run has helped this build no end, so why would I continue with that good practice? Anyway, here we go. So we're going to put on a relatively good covering. We're going to pay attention to it drying because we need to score in the stripes for the roof texture. But yeah, we're just going to go around and work this out. So I will put some music on and we'll pause and talk whenever I say something interesting, and we'll see how well this technique works. There we are. So that's got a good bit and it's starting to go off. So what I'm going to do is I have a toothpick handily here, and I'm going to start scoring down to give it some texture. There we are. That has worked very well indeed. I wonder if this will be my favourite method of doing roofing from now on. There we are. I am very pleased with that. Let me bring that to the camera. Look at the texture that's got. Absolutely amazing. Right, I'm going to crack on with the rest of it. I'll turn the camera off now. That's taken about 9 minutes in total, 10 minutes in total, including talking time. So I'll do the rest of the roof and I'll show what it looks like when it is done. Well, that took very little time indeed. It's only been another 10 minutes or so and I've completed the whole thing. I'm very, very pleased with that. That is a technique I can highly recommend. I'll zoom in a little bit as you see, and you can see that all I've done is covered that with the polyfiller and then scratched it with the little toothpick, and what a simple technique. I will leave that alone. That will dry completely, and next I will be looking to paint it, obviously. So with that done, let's shove it out of the way to one side. We have this, which is the next thing I'm going to need to do on this build. And with the success of that technique, what I'm thinking about doing here is actually exactly the same thing inside and scratching it out so that I can make it look like straw. So I'm going to give that a go. I might also end up plastering the inside and the outside, but I think I'm going to leave the outside. I quite like these, and I'll probably just paint it and try to make it look like scratch panels. But at the very least, I'm going to use the same technique in the inside. So spread on some polyfiller and then scratch it with the toothpick to make it look like straw. So I will get that done. It's exactly the same thing, so I'll turn the camera off and I'll show you what it looks like when it is completed. So these are the two that I'm making. As you know, I started another one as well. I'm making two of these at once. This is the one that I'm making on camera, and this is the other one. And I thought I'd just quickly show the two interiors. As I said before, this one is done with the polyfiller and then the scratchings, and that has come out very nicely. I'm looking forward to painting that. For this one I did the my old technique, which is PVA glue and tea leaves, dried tea leaves, and that doesn't need painting. It will need sealing, but it doesn't need painting. So there's the two bases, or the two interiors, that I'm doing on these models, and I will now need to start painting this up and then seal that one for the next steps, I think. I've decided to glue some of the extra bits in place, and I'm going to do another covering of the mix over it all, but this time I'm going to start to put it onto the base. So this is going to take a little bit of time. I'm not going to film it all, but I thought I'd just show just how simply it's going to be. First of all, the Bardin's tomb. The actual tomb is going to be stuck on using PVA. As you know, I will then be putting the terrain mix up to it. So we'll spread that out, and we're going to put that just about there. There we are. Perfect. Then we will get the little well and do the same thing. So we will spread the PVA around, and the well will go there. Well, there we are. Okay. Now I'm going to probably have a little bit of a measure and turn the camera off and have a play around, because we're going to need to put these in, and I want them to be exactly right, because these are going to influence how this actually plays as a board. But they're going to go roughly there. I'm going to measure it and mark it up and what have you. So I'll do that off camera because it'll be a bit boring. But I'll be back before I actually start gluing them in. And the final thing that I'm not going to do right now is going to be the doorway, because as I said, I want to paint the doors, and that can be slotted in. So I'm going to start working this way. So let me get these measured out and marked up, and then we will make sure that we glue them all in a nice straight line, and so that they look good. One thing I am considering, I have also got some broken ones that are the same, so I am considering at the moment putting maybe one of these broken, but I don't think so. I think I'm just going to leave it as it is. I think that it looks really nice, and it's going to be nicely playable with them as they are. So I'll be back very, very shortly when I've done this measuring. The Sharpie has been deployed, and all sorts of metal rulers have been in use, and I have done this side. I've worked it out. So the gap that goes around behind and between the step is 1.5 inches, and this is dead center. You can see here, I don't know if you can see actually on that one, let me see here. You can see here, this is 1.5 inches away from there, and this line is 1.5 inches away from there. So I can situate this one with that little mark on the left corner and running along the base with the line, and then in the center I've measured halfway, and so I can position that correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them in place, and I'm also going to do the same measurement and the same alignment for those, and then I'm going to leave that to dry for a bit, and then I'm going to come along and fill in, put the base on the bottom, and also do another coat around the edge. So onwards, a little bit more progress. It is about 9 o'clock, 9:30 on the 29th, and I have just managed to complete this, and I'm very, very pleased with how it's come out. What you can see is that the brambles or whatever I've done up the sides have looked really nice. I've put a load of dirt and weathering on the wood. I've put a watering can and the pile of spuds and the brush there. Inside, you can see on that wall there is a fork and a spade hanging up, and inside there's also some more dirt and rubble and what have you. The bricks have been weathered using a gift that Angela got me, the life colour pigments. I will show you what that is. The life colour pigments, there we are. That's what I used to weather the bricks, and it's lovely. It's the first time I've ever used pigments, and you can see that it really does add a lot of depth and a lot of interest to that. So that's that done. I am now going to take some pictures and submit this to the competition, the challenge. It's not really a competition, the challenge on the Discord, and I will put those pictures up both on there to enter it and also at the end of this video and after this clip. So yeah, great stuff. Done. I have a few minutes before bed, and so what I'm going to do is put some paint onto the doors and potentially for the door frame for Barlin's tomb. I'm not going to run the camera because it's late, and yeah, this is only going to be very quick, but yeah, I will show you what they look like when they are done. Well, that ended up being slightly longer than I expected it to be, but that's mainly because of a big push that I did yesterday, which is often my habit on a Saturday. It was a good day yesterday. I got a lot of time with the family, but also, as you saw, I got enough time to get the shed finished and also even make a bit more progress on Barden's tomb. So I won't ramble on anymore now. I'm very glad that you've made it this far if you have, and I will raise my ginormously, stupendously sized cup of tea and have a drink for you. Thank you. Nice cup of tea. It leaves me only to say, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. It's awesome to see so many of you following me and my ramblings. And don't forget also to ding the bell. If you do that, then YouTube will inform you that one of these videos has come along and you'll be able to go and watch it straight away. And last but by very much not least, thank you so much for watching BeardClipper.